I'm recording this because I need someone to know what happened, what's still happening. My name is Elena Marsh. I'm a real estate photographer, and 3 weeks ago I photographed a house that shouldn't exist. Actually, that's not quite right. The house exists. It's the shadows that don't. Let me start from the beginning. I've been doing real estate photography for 6 years. It's steady work, boring, but steady. You show up, make rooms look bigger and brighter than they are. Touch up the photos, send them to the agent, rinse and repeat. I've shot maybe 2,000 properties in that time. Houses, condos, commercial spaces. After a while, they all blur together. But I remember this one. The listing came through on a Tuesday morning. Standard job, 3-bedroom colonial in a town called Ashford, about 90 miles upstate. The agent's message was brief. Need photos ASAP. House has been on market 8 months. No offers. Client wants fresh images to relaunch listing. 8 months is a long time for a house to sit. Usually means something's wrong with it. Bad location, overpriced, foundation issues. But the pay was good and I had a gap in my schedule, so I took it. I drove up Thursday afternoon. Ashford was one of those half-dead towns you pass through without noticing Main Street, with more empty storefronts than occupied ones. Gas station, diner, not much else. The kind of place people leave and don't come back to. The house was on Maple Drive, at the end of a cult 1960s construction. White siding, black shutters, decent-sized yard. Nothing special, but nothing obviously wrong either. It should have sold months ago. I parked in the driveway and checked my equipment. Camera, lenses, tripod, light meter. Everything I needed. It was 1:47 p.m. Perfect lighting time. Sun high and bright. Minimal harsh shadows. The lockbox code the agent sent me worked fine. I let myself in. The interior was dated but clean. Hardwood floors, crown molding, built-in bookshelves. Empty of furniture, which made it easier to shoot. I started with the living room, setting up my tripod, adjusting angles. That's when I noticed. The room was bright, really bright. Afternoon sun pouring through the windows, hitting the floors, the walls. But there were no shadows. Not dim shadows. Not faint shadows. No shadows at all. I stood in the center of the room and looked down at the floor. Nothing. The sun was directly behind me, and I cast no shadow. I walked to the window. The trees outside cast shadows on the lawn. The fence posts cast shadows. Everything outside the house behaved normally, but inside nothing. Just flat, even light everywhere. I checked my light meter. The readings were normal. Bright in the sun path, dimmer in the corners. The light was behaving correctly. It just wasn't creating shadows. I've done enough photography to know this isn't how light works. Light and shadow are a package deal. You can't have one without the other. It's physics. But in that house, physics was taking a coffee break. I told myself it was some weird architectural thing. Special glass that diffused light. Some property of the paint. I didn't know, but I needed to get the job done. I started shooting. The rooms looked good through the lens, bright, open, appealing, but something felt off. The images were too flat. No depth, no dimension. Photos without shadows look wrong to the human eye, even if you can't immediately identify why. I moved through the house. Kitchen, dining room, bedrooms. Same thing everywhere. Bright light, no shadows. My own body, the door frames, the window blinds, nothing cast a shadow inside that house. In the master bedroom, I noticed something else. There were pictures on the wall. The previous owners must have left them family photos in cheap frames. I almost took them down to clear the walls for shooting, but something made me look closer. The photos showed a family, mom, dad, 2 kids, normal suburban family stuff, birthday parties, holidays, backyard barbecues, but in every single photo, the people had no shadows. It wasn't a photography trick or a lighting choice. You could see shadows from trees, from furniture, from the house itself. But the people, the 4 family members, they cast no shadows in any of the pictures, like they weren't really there, like they'd been cut out and pasted into the scenes. I felt cold despite the warm afternoon sun. I pulled out my phone and called the listing agent. It went to voicemail. "Hey, it's Elena. I'm at the Maple Drive property. Quick question, what's the story with this house? Why has it been on the market so long? Call me back." I kept shooting, professional autopilot taking over, but I was moving faster now, wanting to finish and get out. In the second bedroom, clearly a kid's room based on the faded wallpaper, I found more photos. These were older, edges yellowed, black and white, different family, different era, 1950s maybe, based on the clothes. Same thing, no shadows on the people. The basement stairs were narrow and steep. I almost skipped it. Basements are usually terrible for photography. All exposed pipes and concrete, but I needed to be thorough. The basement was unfinished. Concrete floor, exposed joists, water heater in the corner, and on the far wall, written in what looked like black marker, "The light takes them first," below it, in different handwriting, "Don't stay after dark." And below that, in crude letters like a child had written it, "Where do shadows go?" I stood there staring at those messages, my camera hanging forgotten around my neck. The light takes them first. I thought about the family photos, about how those people had no shadows, about how this house had been sitting empty for 8 months. My phone rang. The agent, "Elena, hey, got your message. What's up?" "This house," I said. "What happened here? Why won't it sell?" Pause. "It's priced competitively for the area." Cut the crap. "Something's wrong with this place." Another pause. Longer. "There have been concerns from potential buyers. They say the house feels wrong, that the light is strange. Some people got uncomfortable during showings and left quickly." "Did anyone live here recently?" "The Hendersons owned it from 2015 to last year. Family of 4. They moved out suddenly, stopped making mortgage payments, let it go into foreclosure. The bank's been trying to unload it ever since." "Where did they go?" "No idea. They disappeared. Literally. Police did a missing persons investigation, but found nothing. No trace of them after they left this house." The cold feeling got worse. And before the Hendersons, I'd have to check the records, check them. "I want to know everyone who's lived in this house. Elena, is this really necessary? I just need the photos." I'm standing in the basement looking at warnings written on the wall. "Don't stay after dark. The light takes them first." "So yeah, it's necessary." I could hear her typing. "Okay. Before the Hendersons, the Reeves family, 1998 to 2015. Before that, the Bishops, 1987 to 1998. The Kowalskis, 1973 to 1987. And it was built in 1962 by the Chen family, who lived here until 1973. What happened to all of them? Elena, what happened? Most moved away. Normal relocations, job transfers, that kind of thing. But," she trailed off. "But what? The Bishops. They reported their daughter missing in 1995. She was 11. They found her 3 days later, wandering in the woods about 5 miles from here. She was different, wouldn't speak, didn't recognize her parents. They moved away shortly after, and the house sat empty for 3 years before the Reeves bought it, and the Chuns, the original owners. I don't have details, but there was something in the news archives about the father. He claimed the house was stealing his family's shadows, said it was taking them piece by piece. They had him committed for psychiatric evaluation. Jesus Christ. Elena, look, I know this sounds weird, but houses have histories. Every old place has some quirky story attached to it. That doesn't mean I'm leaving, I said. I got enough shots. I'll send them over tonight. Wait, did you get the master bath? We really need good shots of I hung up. I was already heading for the stairs when I realized what time it was. 4:23 p.m. I'd been in the house for over 2 hours. It had felt like maybe 40 minutes. The light outside was starting to fade. Golden hour approaching. Soon it would be dusk. Don't stay after dark. I climbed the basement stairs fast, emerged into the kitchen, headed for the front door. That's when I noticed the light was different, warmer, softer. The sun was lower, coming in at an angle through the windows, and there were shadows now, not mine, not from any object in the room, but there were shadows, long ones. stretching across the floor, up the walls, human-shaped shadows, moving, but nothing was casting them. I stood frozen, watching shadows move across the empty living room, like invisible people were walking through it. Dozens of them, all different sizes. 2 small ones that might be children, 4 medium ones, more joining them. All the shadows of everyone who'd ever lived in this house, except they weren't attached to anyone anymore. One of the child-sized shadows moved toward me. Fast I ran, hit the front door, fumbled with the lock, got it open, burst outside into the fading sunlight. Behind me, through the windows, I could see them, dozens of shadows crowding the interior, pressing against the glass, unable to come outside, because outside, sunlight still created normal shadows. Outside, the rules of physics still applied. But inside that house, something else made the rules. I got in my car. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get the key in the ignition. I pulled out of that driveway way too fast, tires squealing. In my rearview mirror, I saw the house, just a normal colonial, white siding, black shutters, and in every window, shadows, dozens of them, watching me leave. I drove straight home. 3 hours, didn't stop once. That night, I transferred the photos to my computer. I had to send them to the agent like I'd promised, but when I opened the files, something was wrong. In every single photo, there was a shadow, my shadow, but I wasn't in the pictures. Just my shadow. In every shot, in every room, my shadow was there, except the shadow wasn't doing what I'd been doing when I took the photos. In one image, my shadow was standing in a corner, facing the wall. In another, it was on the floor, like it had collapsed. In another, it was pressed flat against a window, like it was trying to get out. I didn't send the photos. I called the agent and told her I'd had an equipment failure. The files were corrupted. I couldn't complete the job. She was pissed, but there was nothing she could do about it. I tried to delete the photos from my hard drive. They wouldn't delete. Every time I tried, they'd just reappear. Sometimes in different folders. Sometimes with new images I definitely didn't take. Images of the house at night, dark except for soft illumination from nowhere. And in every photo, shadows moving through the rooms. My shadow among them. I stopped trying to delete them. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, things have gotten worse. My apartment has started feeling wrong. The light is too bright during the day, too even, and sometimes, when I'm not paying attention, I look down and my shadow isn't there. It comes back after a few seconds, but it disappears, more frequently, for longer periods. 2 days ago, I went outside at noon, stood in direct sunlight, and had no shadow at all for almost a minute. The guy walking past me noticed. I saw him stare, saw the confusion on his face. Then my shadow flickered back into existence, and he shook his head, like he'd imagined it. But he hadn't imagined it. Neither did I last night. I woke up at 3 a.m. My apartment was dark except for my phone screen. I'd fallen asleep scrolling, but there was a shadow on my bedroom wall. Not from me, not from anything in the room. A shadow of someone standing at the foot of my bed. I turned on the lights. Nothing there. But when I turned them off again, the shadow came back. I slept with the lights on. All of them. Every light in my apartment blazing. Because the shadows can't move in bright light. They need darkness. They need that transition between light and shadow. That's when they're strongest. I've been researching the house, trying to find answers. The property records go back to 1962 when it was built. The Chen family commissioned its construction. But there was something there before. An old foundation from a house that burned down in 1959. 3 people died in that fire. Before that, the land was part of a larger farm. In 1923, there was an incident. A barn on the property collapsed, killing 5 workers. They were trapped for days before anyone found them. By the time help arrived, they were dead. But here's the thing, when they found the bodies, something was wrong. The workers' shadows were still there, burned into the barn floor by the sun shining through the collapsed walls, clear as photographs, but the bodies themselves were gone, decomposed way faster than they should have been. It took them 3 days to identify the bodies because the flesh was almost completely gone, but the shadows remained. perfect impressions of where the men had been standing when the barn fell. The land was considered cursed after that. Nobody wanted it, until the Chuns bought it cheap in 1962 and built their house. They lived there 11 years before the father had his breakdown, before they took him away, before he disappeared from the psychiatric ward 3 months later. They found his hospital gown in a field, nothing else. But in his room at the hospital, on the wall, he'd written the same message over and over in his own blood. The house took my shadow, and now it wants me. I'm writing this down because I need it documented, because I need someone to know. My shadow is disappearing more frequently now, sometimes for hours at a time. And when it's gone, I feel wrong, lighter, less real, like I'm fading at the edges. Last night, I looked in the mirror, and for a split second, I saw through myself. Just a flash. But I was translucent. See-through. I'm losing something. Some essential part of what makes me real, what anchors me to this world. The house took my shadow. And shadows, I've learned, aren't just tricks of light. They're proof you exist. Proof you're substantial enough to block light, to make an impact on the world. Without a shadow, you're just a ghost. A memory of someone who used to be real. I tried to go back. 2 days ago, I thought maybe if I went back to the house, I could somehow reclaim what it took from me. I drove up to Ashford, found Maple Drive. The house was gone. Not demolished, not burned down, just gone. There was a vacant lot where it had been. Grass and weeds. A for sale sign from a different agency, advertising the land. I asked at the town clerk's office. Showed them the address. The woman checked her records and gave me a strange look. There's never been a house at that address, she said. That lot's been empty since the 60s. It's had a few owners, but nobody's ever built on it. That's impossible. I was there 3 weeks ago. I have photos. I'm sorry, but according to our records I left before she could finish. I still have the photos on my hard drive. The corrupted ones. The ones showing my shadow doing things I didn't do. But when I showed them to a friend yesterday, trying to prove the house existed, she looked at me worried. Alina, there's nothing in these photos, just empty rooms. No furniture, no shadows, no nothing. Are you okay? I looked at the screen. She was right. The photos were empty now. Just bare rooms, walls, floors. My shadow was gone from them. Because it's not in the photos anymore. It's not in my apartment. It's not attached to me. It's at the house, or where the house was, or where it will be, or where it always is, in whatever space it occupies. That's not quite here. My shadow is there, with all the others, waiting in that place, without darkness, where the light is wrong, and nothing casts shadows, because the shadows have been taken, collected, stolen. I can feel it calling me now. The pull is getting stronger, like gravity. But wrong, like I'm supposed to go back, like part of me is already there, and my body is just catching up. I look down at my feet right now, sitting here in my apartment with every light on, and there's nothing, no shadow at all. I don't know how much longer I can stay here. In this world, in this reality, where shadows prove you're real. Because without a shadow, you start to fade. The Chuns knew, the Bishops knew, the Hendersons knew. They all figured it out eventually. The house doesn't take your shadow all at once. It takes it slowly, bit by bit, until there's nothing left anchoring you here. Until you become what you cast, a dark shape without substance, moving through empty rooms, trapped in a place where noon lasts forever and nothing can hide. I'm recording this as a warning. If you ever see a house that's too bright inside, where the light is wrong and nothing casts shadows at noon, leave. Don't take photos. Don't look at the walls. Don't try to understand it. Just leave. Because once it knows you noticed, once it realizes you've seen what it's doing, it marks you. And then it starts taking your shadow. And once your shadow is gone, you follow. You have to follow. Because you can't exist here without it. I'm going back tomorrow. I don't have a choice anymore. The house is calling, and my shadow is waiting. And I'm so tired of feeling like I'm disappearing. Maybe when I get there, I'll understand. Maybe it won't be so bad. Maybe all those shadows, all those stolen pieces of people, maybe they've found some kind of peace in that bright, shadowless place. Or maybe they're just trapped there forever, unable to be real, unable to fade completely, caught in between. I don't know, but I'll find out soon. If you're listening to this, if you're reading this, please remember me. Remember I was real, that I existed, that I cast a shadow once. Because soon, that's all anyone will be able to say about me, that I used to be here, before the house took my shadow, before I followed it home. This recording was found on Alina Marsh's laptop, left in her apartment when she failed to appear for work on November 3rd. Her car was discovered on Maple Drive in Ashford, Connecticut, on November 5th. The vehicle was unlocked, keys in the ignition, phone on the passenger seat. Alina herself has not been found. Local police investigated the vacant lot where she claimed the house stood. They found nothing unusual. No evidence of recent construction or demolition, just empty land. However, one officer noted something strange in his report. When they searched the lot at midday, with full sun overhead, none of the search team cast shadows while standing on that particular piece of ground. He attributed this to an optical illusion caused by the angle of the sun and the surrounding trees. The search was called off after 1 week. Alina Marsh remains missing. Her apartment remains untouched, except for one detail. Every photograph she'd ever taken, thousands of images on her hard drive, spanning 6 years of work, had corrupted. All of them now show empty rooms, empty spaces, empty lots. No people, no furniture, no shadows, just light, falling on nothing at all.